This is Adnan Rashid. He's in the Philippines doing what some Muslims do, kind of their Dawa or their Muslim outreach, or to call people to Allah. And that's not shocking. Some Muslims do this. Muslims obviously don't do it to near the degree that Christians do. Thankfully, you see men and women doing evangelism. So he's somewhere in the Philippines. He says he's in central Philippines. So I don't know if that is supposed to be like southern Cebu, northern Mindanao. But in any case, um, they might be reaching people that Christians have not done a good job reaching. And that is a problem because we want to see people saved, we want to see people go to heaven. And of course, some of these people are going to receive Islam now in the long term. Do all these people actually follow Islam seriously? No, almost certainly not. A few, yes, a few will, say the Sunni prayers 5 times a day and try to read a little bit of Quran and eventually, go somewhere where they have an imam to teach them more and so on and so forth. But regardless of the propaganda of Muslims acting as if Philippines is growing so quick in Islam, it's not. It's still an extreme minority here in the Philippines. Maybe no more than 7 million Muslims. And it's true, there are some mosques in Manila that, maybe 25 years ago you really didn't see so many mosques. But the bigger problem is the fact that the Philippines now has Sharia courts, that you don't have to go merely just to Mindanao to go through Sharia courts, but you can go in the Bicol region, the Luzon area, Central Philippines, like par excellence, to do Sharia courts there. And that's a problem because the Philippine government doesn't know that you're basically usurping the Philippine Constitution. You have basically a foreign constitution that usurps the Supreme Court of the Philippines. And now maybe the Supreme Court doesn't quite understand that because they don't understand Sharia law that well. But that's exactly what's happening. Because if under the Supreme Court of the Philippines, everyone has this, supposed equal rights. Within Islam alone, you have gender segregation, not only, of course, within the religious gatherings of, of prayer and people attending the mosque and so on, but a Muslim man can marry 4 women, and a woman cannot marry 4 men. And if, you're going to apply Sharia law that men can stay out as late as they want, but women have curfew, and of course, with regards to dividing up inheritances, that's different between men and women. And of course, a man can beat a woman, slap her around. Um, this is potential domestic abuse, especially according to the Quran. But I won't go so much into that right now. I just had to bring it out because that was just passed in this last year, just very recently. Sharia courts getting into Luzon, and many Christians don't know about it. They don't know the repercussions. But it's not gonna make Islam grow quicker. It's gonna make Islam be a bit more fundamental and more stable in that sense. But unless there's a mass amount of Muslims coming over from Indonesia, Malaysia, or Iraq, Iran, that's probably not going to happen. Then you're not going to see Islam grow very quickly because Islam generally, of course, from time to time they have a convert from Roman Catholic to Muslim, a Balik Islam, or something like that here in the Philippines. But generally, Islam grows. In today's world, it still grows either by force, by marriage, sometimes by business, but especially by just their birth rate is generally higher than much of the world. So that's a big reason why Islam grows. But as far as converts go, studies have shown very clearly that Christian evangelism and converts is much more rapid and growing faster than Islam's Dawa. But here is an anecdotal case study of Islam's Dawa by Adnan Rashid. He's a Muslim apologist, very well known. And just watch a few things what he has to say here so Christians can understand what's going on with the clash of different worldviews from the religious outlook between evangelical Christian and Muslim.
One, go. Okay, Assalamualaikum. I am in Philippines right now, brothers and sisters, and you may be wondering what am I doing here. I am here for Ayera work. Ayera is in Philippines, doing the work of Dawa. Okay, and today we are attending a Salah camp. We call it Salah camp. During Ramadan, we have.
Now, I highly doubt they're going to try to use sophisticated Dawa arguments because you're in a poor area. People are just looking to feed themselves. They're probably not using this propaganda book, Christian Muslim Dialogue, the H.M. Bajil. This is quite routine and standardized among Muslims throughout the world, but especially in the Philippines. A lot of Filipino Muslims are using this book, and there's so many logical fallacies. I've written a rebuttal to this book and will be getting it published in 2025. But in Adnan Rashid's location, he's probably not using some sort of argumentation for the most part here. For the most part, it's just pragmatic, practical work. Poor area, people don't have much hope in anything. They're just, again, trying to get a meal to get by. And so, Muslims are trying to do some outreach there in a common grace sort of sense. Doesn't mean Muslims are Christian, but a common grace sort of sense is, hey, they're trying to do some compassion and some outreach to these other people. And so again, we'll take a more look at the video.
Raising for Salah camps, as you can remember, or maybe you can remember, because we were doing lives almost every other night in Ramadan to raise funds for new Muslim support. So there are people who have accepted Islam. Like if you look there in front of me, right now they're having lunch. This is an indigenous village. When I say indigenous village, you cannot get more indigenous than this. They live in the traditional way. They have bamboo houses. They make houses from bamboo. Okay, you can come.
Yeah, he's right. There's still parts of that are not very well reached. Central Philippines, parts of Mindanao, indigenous, poor, traditional lifestyle. And you see that some of these people might call themselves cultural Christian. Even if they accept Islam, you can see a syncretism of some of these people that mix some of their tradition and culture in with Sunni Islam. And it's not a pure Sunni Islam. And these people, if they're going to be like hardcore Sunni Islam over the long term, and again, I hope these people all become Christians, obviously. I hope they believe the Jesus of the Bible and get saved. But just to get a better understanding of what's going on here, if these people do become Muslims, they're going to progress at a very slow rate unless they have an imam or two to really guide them. And the more they become grounded in Islam, it's not impossible for God to still save them and for them to become Christians, but it becomes a little bit more of a challenge from a human perspective. And that's why Christians need to get out and reach these people before some of these Muslims do. And maybe some Christians have been in a location or place like this, but it's very possible that for several hundred years, these people, these generations of people, even unto this day, the group that Adnan Rashid is talking to have not even heard the gospel, sadly.
From behind me. Very simple lifestyle, very simple homes, The homes are made of bamboo. Okay, these are indigenous people in Philippines, in central Philippines. Right now, we are with them. Many of them have accepted Islam in this village, and we're doing a Salah camp that goes.
Now, by accepting Islam, they just say the Shahada. They say the La ila ala Muhammad Rasul Allah, something along that lines. I don't speak Arabic. Um, and by saying that in Arabic, several times these people become Muslims. It's kind of akin to the superficial evangelical view. It's not a biblical view, of course, but the superficial view of just saying the sinner's prayer and you're all of a sudden a Christian. That's kind of the superstitious view of the Shahada among Muslims. But the Shahada is a wedge to get people, signed up and use this foothold to get them deeply on the right path to Islam.
7 days, right? So they learn how to pray, they learn the basics of Islam, they learn how to read Fatiha, they learn the basics of the Quran.
So Fatiha is just the beginning chapter of the Quran. It's about 7 verses, and the last verse about leading them along the right path, unlike the other people. So leading them along the right path is to Jannah, to paradise. But the other people it's castigating against is and Muslims pray this Sunnis pray this prayer about 17 times a day. And if you look at the tafsir, or the hermeneutics of Fatiha, in Fatiha, chapter 1 of the Quran, again, it's castigating against the historical context. It's castigating and bringing down curses among Jews and Christians.
So you can say, pray with ease workshop. Okay, so that's the poster there, and Ayura is these are indigenous people in Philippines, and they look slightly different as well from other Filipinos because they are a different tribe. They are a different ethnic group, if you like. So if you look at the homes, they are very basic. Even the shop is made of bamboo and straw.
Quick side note, isn't it amazing how, with skin color, it's just different tint of melanin, right? But it's ironic that Adnan Rashid could pass for a Filipino, even though he's not. And that's, again, there's no reason to be a racist because we're all one blood from Adam. And because we're fallen children of Adam, which Islam rejects original sin, is another reason, or even that much more of a reason, why we need the imputed righteousness of Christ, because he's the only one who was born of a virgin, who did not take on original sin, who willingly went to the cross, who is God from all eternity, who added human flesh, who died as a penal substitute in the place of sinners. And Jesus did die on the cross. Islam generally and sadly rejects that, and Jesus did rise from the dead, and that's why people, again, need to believe in the Jesus of the Bible. But sadly, Islam rejects that, and that's why, just like Jehovah's Witnesses have a different Jesus, Islam has a different Jesus, and on the day of judgment, that Jesus cannot save you.
Remember, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ayah's vision is what? What is Ayah's vision? It is based upon a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, Islam will enter every home on the planet, whether that...
If you want to look at hadith controversies and the problem with hadith, I have another video on that, and I hope some of you guys go to check that out. So anyways, my point here is Islam is trying to reach some unreached people groups, and I'm not sure if Christians have reached out to these people or not, but this is another reason for Christians to be zealous in these remote areas, to go share the gospel to these places. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Peace.